AMC movie theaters will charge more for better seats. A massive earthquake strikes Turkey and Syria. And Democrats are losing faith in Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. That and more on this week's headlines. Welcome to America Uncovered. I'm Chris Chappell. AMC Theaters announced a new pricing plan called Sightline, which will charge $1 or $2 more for seats in the middle of the auditorium for movies showing after 4 p.m. Which means if you don't want to develop neck problems from sitting in the front row at the next Marvel movie, you should have thought about that before being so poor. Charging for something that used to be a standard. Congrats, AMC, you've officially become the Spirit Airlines of cinemas. What's next? Are they going to start charging more for seats that won't stick to your skin? It's obviously a joke. Every seat at AMC is disgusting. Pretty sure they come that way. Going to the movies has become so expensive, I'm starting to think those Nicole Kidman ads where she's alone in an empty theater are actually from the future, where she's the only person left who can afford to go to an AMC. Speaking of horrible plans, a neo-Nazi and a woman he had a relationship with were charged with plotting to completely destroy the power grid in Baltimore. This is part of a growing trend of U.S. substations being attacked. According to the Justice Department, the pair planned on damaging the station over racist and extremist views. Had they succeeded, tens of thousands of people would have been without electricity. Honestly, I don't understand the motivation here. I mean, why would a racist want to cut power to so many homes? If they did, that would just make everything turn black. A federal judge in Oklahoma ruled that a federal law that prohibits marijuana users from owning firearms is unconstitutional. This case came about when Jared Michael Harrison was charged last August after a traffic stop when officers found him in possession of a gun and marijuana. Harrison's lawyers argued that this law banning him from owning both was unconstitutional. Now, I covered how people with medical marijuana aren't allowed to own guns in another video. You should check it out. But honestly, I'm not worried about people who use marijuana owning guns. I'm more afraid of them owning recording equipment. That's how you end up with white people making reggae albums. Seriously, a ukulele. Now I know you're high. Federal prosecutors argued that banning drug users from owning a gun is consistent with a long-standing historical tradition in America of disarming presumptively risky persons, namely felons, the mentally ill, and the intoxicated. But U.S. District Judge Patrick Wyrick disagreed, saying, "The mere use of marijuana carries none of the characteristics that the nation's history and tradition of firearms regulation supports." Which makes sense, since some of the founding fathers who wrote the Constitution may have smoked cannabis. Benjamin Franklin for sure. You think you fly a kite with a key attached to it during a thunderstorm while sober? There's a chance this could be taken all the way up to the Supreme Court. It would be interesting to see how that unfolds. The court has a 6-3 majority of conservatives who favor gun rights. But marijuana is still illegal on the federal level. However, conservative Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas has said in the past that federal marijuana laws might be outdated. Could guns lead to what finally gives the U.S. legal weed? It's hard to say, but in the meantime, at least there's one substance no one has to be worried about gun owners using. My health supplement, CHAP XL. That's right, after settling multiple wrongful death lawsuits, it's back. CHAP XL not only boosts your joint health and libido, but it also improves your eyesight so you can see a movie just as well from seats AMC won't upcharge you for. If the Founding Fathers had used CHAP XL, they would have won the Revolutionary War even sooner. So order now. Yeah, YouTube demonetization is hard. More after the break. Welcome back. According to CNN, some Supreme Court justices allegedly used personal email accounts instead of secure ones when sending sensitive information. There are also accusations that Supreme Court employees used printers that could print confidential documents off-site without being tracked. And burn bags that contained sensitive materials meant to be destroyed were left unattended out in hallways. Now, considering how bad seemingly every branch of the government is at handling classified materials, I'm surprised China sent a spy balloon to the U.S. It could have just gone for a walk anywhere and tripped over some top secret information just laying around. At this point, the next time my grandpa says, "Hey, what's that behind your ear?" instead of a coin, he's going to pull out classified documents. Speaking of China's spy balloon, I covered that story over on our other channel, China Uncensored. Check that out too. Now, as you can imagine, China is big mad about the U.S. shooting down there. It's totally not a spy balloon, we swear. China's Vice Foreign Minister Xie Feng said the United States turned a deaf ear and insisted on indiscriminate use of force against the civilian airship that was about to leave the United States airspace, obviously overreacted and seriously violated the spirit of international law and international practice. The remains of the shot-down balloon were gathered and taken to an FBI processing lab to be analyzed. Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesman Mao Ning said, "This unintended entry of this airship into the U.S. is entirely an isolated, accidental incident." Yeah, totally isolated and accidental. Except for that second balloon found floating over Latin America. China admitted came from them. But they swear that was also just a civilian airship and drifted over accidentally due to the weather. You know how crazy the weather can be. One moment the skies are clear, next moment the winds are blowing in a perfect path over every military base in the Western Hemisphere. Crazy. As the U.S. gathered the remains of the shot down, "For real, it's just a civilian weather balloon. Why don't you believe us?" China urged restraint, with Xie saying they want to avoid miscalculation and misunderstanding and harming our mutual trust. This is like if a cake went missing, you found crumbs back to your dog's bed, and while still covered in frosting, your dog suddenly started speaking perfect English and said, "Have some restraint and don't jump to conclusions now. You wouldn't want my absolute guilt ruining the trust between us, would you?" China's defense is so bad, the talking dog is somehow the least insane part of that analogy. A magnitude 7.8 earthquake struck southern Turkey and northern Syria, killing thousands and injuring countless more. Hundreds of buildings were destroyed or damaged, including the ancient Gaziantep Castle, which was a tourist attraction in Turkey. This wasn't the only earthquake that struck on this day. A 3.8 magnitude earthquake was felt near Buffalo, New York. This was the strongest earthquake in the area in 40 years. Luckily, this didn't cause substantial damage to Buffalo's most cherished destination spot, their Buffalo Wild Wings. In all seriousness, this massive earthquake in Turkey and Syria left the world with a lot of questions. Questions like, how could this happen? What can I do to help? Can we predict these in the future? Or, if you're in the media, questions like, how can I take advantage of this to get more clicks? Just kidding. The media doesn't have to ask themselves that. They already know the answer. Fear. Case in point, a slew of articles immediately came out in the wake of the earthquake, fear-mongering that something like this could happen in California and devastate the southern portion of the state. No duh. A 7.8 magnitude earthquake would devastate Southern California. That's because all of California is so poorly managed that just about anything would devastate it. Forget an earthquake, a light breeze could topple parts of it. And that same light breeze will be blamed for China's next weather balloon going astray. Crazy weather, am I right? And after the break, U.S. farmers plan to grow even more corn. Welcome back. U.S. farmers are planning to grow more corn this year after a drought last year brought the U.S.'s corn supplies to the lowest levels in almost a decade. There's a lot of debate as to whether or not the U.S. needs that much more corn, especially after demand for soybeans outpaced corn last year. But farmers are insistent on creating more acreage for the crop, because if there's one thing America needs, it's more corn. It's like saying Garfield needs more lasagna in his diet. I actually covered America's dangerous reliance on corn. You know what? No. I think the folks in charge are the ones who should check it out. I'm starting to think America, nay, the world, would be a better place if everyone just listened to what I had to say. That's why I'm running for Supreme Leader of these United States. It started off as a joke, but now I think it's for the best. Now, sure, most people will not like me once I'm Supreme Leader, but that still might be better than the current president. An AP NORC poll of over 1,000 Americans found that only 37% of Democrats supported President Biden running for a second term in 2024. This is down from 50% when the same poll was conducted just a few months ago. And a record number of Americans said in another poll that they're worse off financially since Biden took office. The results of just about every poll taken are that Joe Biden inspires as much confidence as a gynecologist who works on patients while closing his eyes and crossing his fingers. Yeah, we should definitely replace this guy. So heading into his State of the Union address Tuesday night, Biden aimed to reassure voters that his administration was doing a good job, which felt like Mark Zuckerberg trying to reassure everyone that the metaverse was a great idea. Hey, doesn't that guy look like he's having fun? So how did Biden's State of the Union speech go? Just like every other one. He tried reassuring everyone that America was doing great and called for unity.
The people of this nation are strong. The State of the Union is strong. And to my Republican friends, if we could work together the last Congress, there's no reason we can't work together and find consensus on important things in this Congress as well.
And of course, it devolved into a partisan circus, with Democrats cheering every other line and Republicans booing and shouting liar when Biden suggested some of them wanted to cut Social Security and Medicare. Yep, I'm feeling pretty optimistic about that unity. Whatever you thought about the State of the Union, the White House wants you to know that President Biden definitely wrote that speech himself. Maybe.
As you know, the president is heavily, as I've said many times, heavily engaged in the writing process. When you hear the speech, you'll certainly hear there will be no question that this is a Joe Biden State of the Union speech.
Considering all that stammering, was that statement written by Biden too? This isn't the sort of thing you should brag about. This would be like someone slamming their car into 6 parked vehicles and going, "Great parking job," right? As unpopular as President Biden is, Vice President Kamala Harris is even more unpopular. According to a report from the New York Times, high-ranking Democrats are leaking their disappointment in Harris, with many being tired of waiting for her to do something to define her vice presidency. Dozens of Democrats in the White House, on Capitol Hill, and around the nation, including some who helped put her on the party's 2020 ticket, said she had not risen to the challenge of proving herself as a future leader of the party, much less the country. I'm sure this is all just gloom and doom, though. There are likely several Kamala Harris supporters who are willing to wait as long as it takes for her to leave a legacy that makes them proud. In fact, here's actual footage of them still waiting for that to happen. Harris's situation is so dire that not even Chap XL could fix it. That's why I'm introducing Chap Double XL. This is what she needs to become more powerful. Physically, I mean, since she'll never be president. Not as long as I'm supreme leader. So what do you think about the stories we covered this week? Leave your comments below. And if you want to help us deliver nonpartisan news, be sure to support America Uncovered by going to patreon.com/AmericaUncovered. All it takes is as little as $1 or more per episode to fight YouTube's censorship and demonetization. We rely on your support to help us keep making great episodes. Once again, I'm Chris Chappell. Thanks for watching America Uncovered.